Hello. Good morning, friends. Okay, that's not the only one. I have another one. Hold on. Oh, that's weird. It like disappeared on me. Okay. All right, hang on. I thought I was so together. And looky there. Not so much. Okay. Where did I find it? I found this one. Was it that one? I think it was. Maybe it was this one. No. Oh, man. Anyway, while I put this one on, okay, and then we'll go into our video. I'm going to leave the link to the guy playing the saxophone. So if you will just run over and give him a thumbs up and, tell him, Johnny Rotten sent you. Thank you for letting us enjoy your saxophone. And that was just a street performer. I love street performers. So he'll get some views and likes. And okay, before I do, because you guys are so on it. Well, I don't know. No, wait a minute. wait a minute. We're waiting on a couple more names to come in. We don't have our top 5 yet. So while we're waiting for the top 5, I'm going to throw up the next song, and then we'll get into the video of what inspired this stream this morning. Okay, next song, and then we'll come into our award ceremony for our placements.
Main monster, I'm an original gunslinger. Hey yo, brave boy, you take this for toy. Me not play them games, boy. Hey yo, right now, PvP. Hey yo, yo. If a player wanna stop me, stepping on the map, your whole team wanna war me. Bring your next level for me. You're not a challenge, your skills just call me. When I pull out my RPG, split out 16s like a SMG. Yeah. Game boy, you can't test me. I'm one of you, don't impress me. Hey. I get you triggered. I got you triggered. I got you triggered. I got you triggered. I got you triggered. Them go on. I got you surrounded right now. My team versus your team. We got you cornered. We got you triggered. Yeah. Them go on, them go on, them go on me. They say you and your team coming for me. Them go on, them go on, them go on me. Better fall back, I'm gonna bring me army. Got you one-on-one. PvP. Knock you out the gate. You can't test me. Say right now, me are the MVP. I got you triggered. You can't test me. I get you triggered. I got you triggered. I got you triggered. I got you triggered. I got you triggered.
Okay. All right, let's see. let's see our winners. We have, of course, William today gets the first place. He even claimed it. That's excellent. First, Jerry comes in at number 2. Not bad, Jerry. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Number 2. And our cash made it into the 3rd place. Woot, woot. Go Ark. That's fantastic. And who comes in at 4th? Ulick McGee, my favorite YouTuber. I'm not partial. I love everyone. Okay. That was fabulous. Okay, that's it. Nobody else. There's no number 5. Unless somebody wants to come in real quick and take the 5th place. I don't know. Okay. All right. So this is what I woke up to this morning. So this got me all excited. I will drop the link in. Oh, that other one. I don't have it now. Did I copy it? I might have. I think that's the one for the free trap music or whatever you can get for your channels. But this one, and when you get your money, you'll be getting a doily if you send me your address. Okay. This video, this one is from a channel that uploads like old vintage videos. So I always love these because they have some of the most interesting things. And so this is the link for this video. So you might want to go and sub to the channel or something, because if you like these kind of things like I do, they're fun to have in your, you're scrolling through and you're like, oh, there's nothing good going on. And they're like, ooh, a reel-to-reel. An old classroom film strip. So that's this channel. So I think you guys will like this. So wait till everybody gets settled in. I was only the best man, not the groom, carrying the bride. Is that this thing, like always a bridesmaid, never a bride? Is that what you're saying, Jerry? You're always the best man. You're never the groom. That's funny. Yes. Okay. Get the links. Excellent. Everybody's off linking. I can tell because like everybody left. And then there's like 2 people watching now. And I'm going to wait because I don't want to share this video until there's more people here. Everybody comes in when we're done. Do you notice that? And so, how do you rectify that? So I like live interaction. I was playing around with some, video software. And so was going and watching, like, what's the best free ones you can use? I uploaded a little sound bite with my cameras on, cameras off, little, I don't know what you call that. My writing. I don't know. It's not a poem or anything. With one of those new voices, and I picked, I think that's an Irish American voice or Irish English voice, and that was interesting to play around with because I don't know, but it is not a word. So she would say IT. I go, well, crap. So I had to rearrange some things. And I learned that you can't cuss on that program, as it highlighted the sentences that I had inappropriate language, like cock and fuck and what was it? Blowjob. So I had to get a little creative with those words there. So I had to do a little editing. But I just wanted to see how it would translate it and do it in kind of a familiar and yet peculiar voice. They had some other ones too. I thought about Australian for a minute, but I just really liked this one. So I wanted to give it a go and see what people thought of. And it was just interesting, no, I think I said messing with instead, because it was fucking with, they enjoy fucking with them. And so it wasn't, it was something that could easily be replaced with, messing or fooling, whatever like that. Tormenting them. But if you guys have it, I'm gonna play it actually. Let me just do that actually, while it is just a couple people in here. And we'll just discuss. I'll tell you this. The likelihood of me ever paying money for any of these programs, absolutely not. I'm sitting here trying to think. Oops, that's not what me ever paying money for any of these programs, absolutely not. Don't do that to me. Okay. Okay, that's weird. Where's my videos? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, okay, here it is. All right, that threw me off. I got it now. I'll tell you what, I wasn't impressed. And the amount of money that they want for them. If you're giving me a free version of what I'm capable of doing times 100, every one of these, I tried I had to use 3 different program or things, but 2 of them, one was separate. And the couple that I tried, and then I realized this and go, oh crap. So then I go and look, they give you 10 minutes. You have a clock of just a very few minutes to use the program. Now I'm an idiot. And I'm not only have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm watching a tutorial to learn how to do it. And then try to do it. And then it limited how much I could say. So my words are really small. So I tried to record one that was my poem, what can I say? And I couldn't, but so I did it. It was cool. And I did a little live stream that was choppy. So I thought you can't download it. So I got limited amount of time, limited amount of words, and I can't download it. And that's my free, but I don't even know how to use the program. So I have no idea which one of these, that I would even want. The images were crappy. It reminded me of late 1990s Adobe Photoshop with the images and the cartoon faces or the caricatures. The other one that I tried in animation, and I didn't even do that one. I did it, but I was just playing around. That was the 3rd one I tried, and I didn't make anything with it. It was far too complicated. It was one of those cartoony drawing. Again, just way over my head. So I'm sitting here, and I'm sorry, guys, but I'm trying different ideas, and I can honestly say we might just be stuck with it like this, where we have a lot of technical difficulties and I can't seem to pull out anything much further than what can I read and what can I pop out the top of my head, okay? Because it's just extremely time consuming. God bless you, William, and those of you that sit and do that. I felt like I wasted all of that time doing something I could have just done myself with a few clicks across my tab lines. I used to, when I first started YouTube, I used to do the program that was on my Mac, which was like a screen cap or a quick capture. Like I could just talk and then capture my screen. And the minute I started doing YouTube and I started talking about, I'm not saying they're related. I'm really not. Okay. I was doing really fine with all of my videos being that way. And then COVID happened. And then my little quick thingy stopped working. It just stopped working altogether. And I had a moment where I thought, is that why would that happen? And I did. I had a little, FBI kind of CIA moment where I thought, have I said something to offend the powers that be and they're trying to shut me down? you know, and and I don't believe that. Okay. But I did have that moment of paranoia for a second, which is a normal human behavior that you have when you're doing something wrong. And it just made me feel good instead of ashamed. So what did I so therefore I know I wasn't sinning, right? Because I didn't feel bad about it. I felt like, well, fuck them. And so that's how I ended up on StreamYards, because StreamYards I could basically do the exact same thing that I was doing, only through a different platform. And so I probably could try that program again. I might see, probably wants an update. I've never updated my computer in like 10 years, so I have no idea how to do that. I just don't know. Okay, I'm really not computer literate. So that was, a couple more people came in, so that's rad. So we'll watch this. You tell me what you think of the voice, and I'm really curious about what, you look and maybe some of my other friends over there would think of the voice. Now, this program is said to have made them more realistic, and that's why I kind of liked it, because I really hate those robotic voices. Yeah. But this one was claiming to be very smooth, and I could hear it, but I wanted to know what my friends thought. So you all tell me. Yeah. I do feel dirty. I have to say, you guys, I do feel a little dirty playing with these things. Somehow this felt really bad, and yet I wanted to do it. Like eating a donut, one too many donuts, and not eating a donut. I don't feel bad about the first donut. I kind of feel bad about like the third or fourth donut. And then I'm like, girl, you got a problem with these donuts. Put them down. Walk away. Okay, so let me play this and you tell me. Oh, and Venomous. Are you the next one? Venomous takes the 5th spot. Yes. Woohoo. Oh, excellent. Venomous, you rock. You got the 5th spot, man. Okay, let me play it and then I'll read the comments.
Camera on, camera off. By Johnny Rotten. I'm going to highlight a few types of people I have observed on YouTube that display the camera on behavior. Interesting fact. Camera on people typically talk to themselves when the cameras are on. In other words, they look at their own face when speaking and not to the person they are speaking with. Number 1. Connecting with others. I have had the pleasure to meet a few people who view the internet as a failure to society as a whole, and they like to have their cameras on as a way to stay connected with other human beings. For them, the ability to visually see a friend laughing or thinking is part of the life experience and shouldn't be avoided simply because we are, in some ways, forced to connect online. Finding difficulty in locating people in their proximity that are worth connecting with. These people get a pass and I view them as heroes. They are doing something I struggle to do and supply a much needed atmosphere to our online experiences. You will oftentimes find these camera on people in laid back streams. Just a few friends hanging in the living room enjoying each other's company, some righteous smoke, and a few tunes. Number 2. Pretty boy, pretty girl people. These people keep their cameras on a lot more than others. You will find them dolled up and in tight t-shirts so their muscles pop. They rarely know what is going on in the conversation if there even is one. They are superficial. You can see them grooming themselves constantly just like a pussy cat. These people are more in love with themselves than anything else. Even if the panel is full of super hot people, their eyes are always on their own face. There could be a person on panel fully nude and they'd put on lip gloss. Makeup and man buns are all the rage. These people's brains are empty and nothing good comes out of their mouth unless it's a blow job, which they will gladly pretend to do later on their fans only page where they also watch themselves. Think about that. Number 3. Attention seekers. A special breed indeed. This type goes out of their way to put on a show. Some get drunk and start playing truth or dare. Others have no qualms about sitting shirtless in their underwear scratching themselves, or getting up to grab another beer and peacocking their plumber's crack. And my favorite, the camera on my coffee table with a straight view up my shorts kind. Some do all of these things and others do worse. These people often get clipped and have numerous troll accounts featuring them as Fool of the Week. Hey, that's actually a clever title for such a thing. Feel free to steal. Anyways, as I was saying, this Cameron type also includes those that like to yell at strangers and get right up to the camera, face, of whichever tic-tac-toe square has triggered them, knowing full well if this was taking place in the real world, they would be throat punched and gasping for air by now. I personally find them obnoxious, but they can be entertaining for a while and I understand their attraction. It's a lot like visiting the zoo. So bring some popcorn because if you're lucky enough to spot a couple of peanuts in the panel, you won't want any in your mouth. Number 4. Thought fuel. These people are on the verge of voyeurism. Typically women, they know they are somewhat attractive, at least to some men, and use that to gather attention from those men in chat. They will flip their hair, smile, wink, flirty type behaviors. They are known for giving out their phone numbers, will often text privately, and don't require a credit card number. These ladies enjoy messing with a man's mind so much, they will offer their services for free. Sometimes they show up in low-cut tops with their cleavage displayed for all to admire. I've seen others lie in bed like a 13-year-old girl writing in her diary. But more often than not, it's a middle-aged woman who enjoys being told she's pretty or sexy. Desperate to cling to the youth that is slipping away, all this type needs is for one to react, and their tank begins to fill. The slightest idea that some guy in the room is whacking off to her, or at least rubbing his hand over his crotch a few times, is enough to keep her going. One might say she gets just as big a rise, metaphorically speaking. This Cameron type is clipped a lot too, but not for the same reasons as the attention seekers. Not many will admit they have these clips, let alone share them publicly.
What did you guys think of that voice? I have to say, I do like the way she says some of my. Oh man, that would be a rad voice to have. I'm jealous. um, what did you guys think? So that was my cameras on, cameras off with an Irish English accent. Okay, so going back to that, very interesting though, because as I was listening to it again, I was remembering what I was experiencing last night. Okay, so things to note. As I said earlier, it did not allow me to type swear words, so I had to alter fucking as well as cock. I couldn't say cock. I thought that was weird. It knew that cock was in the pants as opposed to a rooster. So I'm just saying the AI's gotten smarter to our spelling, which really brings me into what we're talking about with the future. Because as you may or may not know, I believe we're moving in the same stages we do as a human being. And so that means that pattern of developmental milestones and behaviors is a pattern. It is part of the bigger picture. It's like a massive part of it's actually the one that combines us all, the unconscious that combines us all. Our developmental concepts go on all levels, and therefore it's not only the planets that have behavior in the same developmental stages as a being or a star, or at least, look, here's what I love about the meaning of life is that you can go, Joni, we don't believe in the stars. And I go, I don't give a fuck. Somebody came up with the concept of them, and being a human being, they put the behaviors unbeknownst to themselves in the very order that we develop in. So it makes no fucking difference whether the stars are out there or in our imagination in a matrix. We still put the patterns in the right order. And I find that fucking fascinating. So it is now currently AI. If I'm correct, because I believe AI is also acting in a developmental stage type behaviors. And to have it telling me I can't swear with what I've got, the information they're giving me an unconscious impression. This is very important. If I'm not clear, somebody ask me, or somebody that does understand me restate it in a clear form, because here's where I struggle. So they give us, if they want us to believe that we are not as technologically advanced as we actually are. And so they show me, they're contradictory in what they show. So they show me a Sophia type bald robot, and it's having conversations with another Australian type robot that are just torsos on sticks on a stage with a Bohemian man. And they tell me this is the most advanced we have. And at the same time they're showing me that, military news is showing me robot dogs walking through the city. Only one of these two things, or both of these things, or neither of these things. So when do we start being told not to swear? When do we start going, oh, that's a bad word? What age are we when that's a bad word is being told to us, right? Think about that for a minute. And then imagine that the AI programs that are coming out to us are within that developmental stage. So this is middle school, double digits. This is when you start cussing on your own when nobody's around. You start playing with these things and you get told, no, don't do that. This isn't the cute stage of babies. That's very scary. That just adds more absolute pins in my giant pin string boards of behaviors that tell me I'm double digits right now as a collective. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't cuss, little Joni. And the first thing I want to do the first thing that I'm freaking doing at 12 years old is meeting my friend at the dugout, smoking a cigarette and cussing and talking about boys or whatever. Not really, because I don't even think we gave a crap about boys yet. But talking about stuff, whatever. Smoking, skipping, cussing. Do you remember that? You remember you go on the camping trip? Let's just take it. I'll give you another example. The Stand By Me movie. They're double digits. They're going off by themselves. They're cussing. They're saying inappropriate things. They're cussing. They're telling grossed out stories. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It being kids outside of parents. Well, your parents have found you. And they're sitting there across the campfire giving you the ugly eye, the evil eye. Don't swear. So now that I've had that to think of, now I'm gonna go on to our video now that there's a few people here, but I do want to see what you guys think. Did you like that? It was a female William. Yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. I loved the way she said some of things. I remember now when I was listening to all the different voices. There was one I found on another program, but that's the one that wouldn't load. So that's the one I probably have the sound from, but the animation didn't, it was choppy. But she was an American. She had a beautiful voice. Man, if I had to pick an American voice, it would have been hers. I kind of liked it. But anyway, that one tickled me when she said the word. What was it? I even put it in the chat. That was the word when I was listening to her say it. A righteous smoke. I loved it. I was like, that's the voice. That's the one. Yes, excellent nomadic Brit. He's in driving. Don't chat or text while driving. That really bothers me when people that are listening to me and I find out that they do that. Like they tell me they're driving in town and then they put they're putting messages in. Don't do that. It's cool, man. We'll remember you're out there. Every now and then somebody like say, you don't have to respond, nomadic break. Just nod your head like, yeah, still here, man. We'll unconsciously know. Okay. You thought it might have been. I honestly couldn't tell you now. It might have been a Scottish. I think it was actually, now that you say that, because earlier on I said I couldn't remember. I think she was Irish English. I think you're right. It was Scottish English. And it was that righteous smoke that got me, because they had what was this program I thought really did pretty well, because she didn't sound too robotic. I could listen to her. Some of the other ones were bad, but they had everything from India American or English. Sorry. Look how I'm such a self-centered USAer. I'm so sorry. English. My bad. Okay. I forget whose company I'm in. They had Scottish, English, they had 3 or 4, they had a lot of like British. There was actually, they had a lot of British. I would not even 3 or 4. This program had like a couple rows. They had the one Scottish. They had they had several Australian, Canadian. There was a lot of Canadian, of course, a ton of American. There were some Indian ones, and any and every other. So you could basically have accents of other places. So that was kind of interesting. And they weren't bad, but most of them I couldn't get free. So like the Irish English, maybe that one was where you couldn't get free. I don't remember listening to one, or they didn't have it, but you had to pay for them. So this one was one that I could use. I thought it was kind of interesting. And then what was the other word she said in there that I thought was, it wouldn't let me say the word more. She would say Maury. And I was like, oh crap. And I missed one of them. There's still one in there. But so I took the E off and thought, well, maybe she'll just say more. And it worked. And then the other one was, she didn't say the number 4. I'm sure she was saying 4 the way that it is said in Scotland. You can verify this, William. But it didn't even sound like 4. And so I wrote number FOR, and it did it that way. And so it does say number 4 now. And I changed. Yeah. So anyway, there, that was it. Okay. So fun. All right. But they're clearly completely controlling everything. And I find that really interesting, because that goes along with the YouTube. YouTube just doesn't like me because I swear. YouTube just doesn't like you, William, because you swear. All right. It can be as simple as that. And then you add that, oops, we got one. We got a swearer. And oh, they fucking like NASA too. And it ta-ting, 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 New World Order, ta-ting, flat earth, ta-ting. And our buckets of ticks start getting really big and we tilt one way, and then YouTube just really, so imagine it's like a little cluster of stars. It's a galaxy. We've created a YouTube galaxy algorithm. And that's why, every so often it has to kick us off and flatten us back out. Fuck. I gotta build up my cup of doom again. I love flying by the seat of my pants. I love risking it all. I mean, I'm an all-in type of person. Balls deeper, don't bother. Okay. All right, so on to what and it's all related, because this McGraw-Hill Text Films is a old film, 1962, I believe it says, 67, my bad. And I mean, brilliant. So let me pop this over here and we'll take a little listen. Oops, come on. You can do it. You can do it. I know it. Okay.
Your film is now ready to be shown.
Magnetic control, 20% probability. 01, yes, here's the unlikely event that became true, and I just go on through the others the same way.
This is not a crap game. It's a serious game at the University of Pittsburgh about the year 2001. Rolling the dice is Dr. Olaf Helmer of the RAND Corporation. With Theodore Gordon, he is conducting a simulation exercise.
Okay, I'm stopping right here. How fucking beautiful is that? Let's do this. I want to do this. Can I get the transcript of that? Can I just say this is one of my favorite things? So let's just look here. Let me just do it this way. That way we don't get in this much trouble. So it says here, your film is now ready to be shown. And then it pops in as these guys are sitting at the table. Control 20% probability. So 1, yes. Here's the unlikely event that became true. And I just want for the others the same way. This is not a crap game. It's a serious game at the University of Pittsburgh. And they're playing, this is Dungeons and Dragons. In think tank style. So I've talked about this so many times. Fix my screen. Oh, is it the girl in the back? Is it distracting her boob? I do know that, and I forget sometimes. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'll put us in the control room. This is a good stream for the control room. Is that better? And then I'll make I do this. Is this better? Okay. Ooh, it's better for me too. Kudos to you, like, for being a team player here. All right. So they're playing. Okay, so this is what think tanks do. Okay, so I talk about think tanks all the time. And I found one. I found a perfect example of a think tank. So they have all of these ideas out, and they roll these dice, and like Dungeons and Dragons, they look at what number that is, and then that's what happens. That's the one that gets pulled, right? And they're playing a game called 2001, and Olaf Helmer of the what corporation is that again? The RAND Corporation. Gee, I don't know who that could be. Where Mr. Theodore Gordon, he is conducting a simulation exercise on a panel of experts. Conducting a simulation exercise, period. A panel of, hang on. Okay. A panel of experts has studied a list of possible 21st century developments from personality control drugs. Do you read that? What the fuck does that say? A panel of experts has studied a list of possible 21st century developments from personality control drugs. Personality control drugs, well, we have those, so that clearly was the number, to household robots, also been rolled, and they have estimated the numerical possibility of each from 0 to 100%, and the 20-sided dice are then rolled to simulate these possibilities. A use of random numbers known as the OMG. And the card, the poker, the dice, the gambler, the con man, the magician comes back again with a Monte Carlo technique. An often used and think tank games. This is one of their favorite. They play Dungeons and Dragons. They're statistical kids. Do you see? This is what they're doing for a job. This is what all of your money goes to when you donate it to Greenpeace or the government or anything that is a research. That's what they have going on. People, sitting around tables playing. Get the fuck out of here. Isn't it nice to know now? Remember, we learned that Elon Musk and Bill Gates were those pathetic loser kids with pizza faces who stayed at home and read comic books, never went and did anything. And even we made fun of them sometimes, but we didn't like other people making fun of them. So kudos to us. Only we're allowed to. We do it out of love. Yeah. But you get what I mean? They're even the ones that we don't bother with. We don't mess with them. They're the brights of the universe. Because we see them as pathetic and loser-esque. And I don't belittle those that I see as less than, regardless of how smart they were. And I know you could say, Tony, that's just something that stupid people say. So that, okay, maybe. But I was a part of their clubs and their teams and their sports. And let me tell you, most of them are weird. Okay, beyond weird. And they're weird in a lot of ways. And they're extremely self-centered. They're extremely narcissistic. They're ugly backstabbers. They don't give 5 fucks about you. And it's all about themselves. Well, I was married to one of them for 20 years. So I can talk about them, okay? And they're horrible little fuckers and they're pathetic losers, okay? And it doesn't matter how fucking smart they are, they've always been pathetic and they always see themselves as less than you. And that's why they want to take what's yours. That's why they want to control you. That's why they want to think of things to do to you, gaslight you, lie to you, make you think of things that aren't true, like ghosts and aliens. They get big boners off of it because they're assholes. Okay. And this is what they do with their lives. My ex is a statistician for a school system. So I know this group well. And they're back. The nerds are taking revenge. And this is what they do, nerdy things. They play Dungeons and Dragons. And gamble on your life, gamble on our relationship, just gambling. Which one of these things might knock her out? I don't know. Which one's it going to be? It was the best friend, wasn't it? It was banging the best friend in her craft room. That was it. That was the one. That's the one. You got it, mister. That's the one. You crossed the line, you little shit. Go fuck yourself. Okay. Let's go on now that I'm done. Every now and then I have to remind myself how I got here. They encourage talented people to think about the future and the current fascination of a new intellectual breed of futurists wind up to the world, which has the following features. We have fertility control. They rolled that fucking number 2. Hey, PDF. And if your lifespan is controlled, some nuclear power continued, automation generated control, man-machine symbiosis, household robots, wideband communications, opinion control, and continued urbanization. A 71-year-old futurist, Freudian slip, who has been called the citizen of the 21st century architect, engineer, and Freemason, your brother and ours, our Buckminster Fuller. Woo! We ourselves consist physically of atoms, he says. And we know that all atoms have that frequencies. It is theoretically possible to pick up all of our frequencies and actually send us by radio. You mean we'll be able to transmit ourselves somewhere else? Yes, to be reconstructed in some distant place. Okay, I'm going to go back and play this now that I've read it, and then I'm going to keep doing this because this should fucking be blowing your mind. All right, just this tiny little, if that's all I talked about. So what this guy says is some really horrible things. Okay, he says that when we're playing this game and we're rolling the dice, here are some of the ideas that we have. Okay, we have where was it? I didn't even go all the way up. Yes, I did. Okay, yes, I did. Let's see. Sorry, I did. Okay. Exercise of the panel here's one of the horrible things he says. Personality control drugs is one of the dice numbers. Household robots is one of the dice numbers. That's 2. Let me get back down here. Okay, fertility control, that's 3. Lifespan control, that's 4. Nuclear power, 5. Continued automation, 6. Genetic control, 7. Man-machine symbiosis, 8. Household robots, well, we said that one already. Wideband communications, that's 9. Is that right? Is that my 8 or 9? 10, I don't know. Opinion control, that's YouTube. Continued urbanization. Okay. What the fuck? Every one of those horrible things. Here it is. Here is the paper. Look at this. This is fucking disgusting. Look. Territorial claims over ocean portions. Nuclear power supply to developed nations. B3, creation of new types of employment. 10.3, I don't know. Maybe that's not a B. I don't know what that is. Weather control and military weapons. That's even on the same. That's on the same line. Oh, that's brilliant. There's the proof. Somebody clip it. Hold on. Oh my God. Are you not cracking up? Let me see what's being said over here. Okay, excellent. PDF still working on his. Fixed 3 of the 4 holes in my roof, but I'm on it. PDF had a big tree fall during the storm down there in Florida recently. I won't tell you more. I don't want to depress you. No, this is there is yes, it would see, here's the thing that depresses me. You do, a personal person that I know that I have known now for like a handful of years, PDF. PDF I've known longer than you, like, even. And like right out the gate, I met PDF. And you going through something that's it sucks, that is depressing. And I think that's what makes friends like us powerful, is because we have a way of deflecting from our own patheticness and having a laugh at all of our patheticness. As I'm reading weather control and military weapon on the same line. Please tell me someone else found that funny. Except you, Nomadic Brit. Don't tell me because you're driving and you're not allowed to use your phone in Joni's room. That's it. Yes, I love you. Good. I would totally go and crash with you if I left my house. If I was a traveler, you are one of the people that I would go see on a repeat, I think. I think you would be rad to hang out with. Road trip to PDF's house. Yeah. I'd be there. Okay. And then it says, look at some of the other things that it says. Application of agriculture and permaculture. So what's the application of agriculture and permaculture? William, if you're still listening, what does that mean? What horrible thing does that mean? Because I don't know. And you study that. It also says legislative controls of genetic operations. Is that what that says? Look at that. This is better than the Georgia Guidestones. Legislative control of genetic operations. We got that now. They rolled that number. Increased replacement of human services and use of orbital stations for, what does that say? Economic purposes. Use of orbital stations for economic purposes. Well, there's another Williams toolbox. What the actual fuck? Okay, I'll shut up now and rewind it, and we'll watch this little segment, and then we'll move on to the next. But I want to open the panel up for discussion. So if anyone is wanting to watch this in segments and chat with me, you please do, because I feel like this segment alone is worthy of 10 hours. So let me start this over, and I'll throw the link in.
Your film is now ready to be shown.
Genetic control, 20% probability. 01, yes, here's the unlikely event that became true, and I just go on through the others the same way.
This is not a crap game. It's a serious game at the University of Pittsburgh about the year 2001. Rolling the dice is Dr. Olaf Helmer of the RAND Corporation. With Theodore Gordon, he is conducting a simulation exercise. A panel of experts has studied a list of possible 21st century developments, from personality-controlled drugs to household robots. They have estimated the numerical probability of each, from 0 to 100%. The 20-sided dice are then rolled to simulate these probabilities, a use of random numbers known as the Monte Carlo technique, and often used in think tank games. All of this is highly speculative, but the game serves a useful function. It encourages talented people to think about the future. the current fascination of a new intellectual breed, the futurists.
So we wind up with a world which has the following features. We have fertility control, 100-year lifespan, controlled thermonuclear power, continued automation, genetic control, man-machine symbiosis, household robots, wideband communications, opinion control, and continued urbanization.
A 71-year-old futurist who has been called the citizen of the 21st century, architect engineer R. Buckminster Fuller.
We ourselves consist physically of atoms, and we know that all the atoms have their frequencies. It is theoretically possible to pick up all of our frequencies and actually send us by radio.
You mean we'll be able to transmit ourselves somewhere else?
Yes.
To be reconstituted in some distant place?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of things wrong with that. What I think he's talking about, we can go sci-fi and think Fly, The Fly, right? We can do that. Excellent film, by the way. I like the one from the 80s myself. Black and white is good, but I do think they did a good job with that one. And I think What's His Face did an excellent job as the character. So he was believable there for me. And of course, I have to also keep in mind my age and how old I was when that film came out and the things that I was interested in. So for me, I saw it at a time it would be new to me in such a way. So of course, I think wow, that was very Southern. I think caught myself there. ABCD, ABCD. Okay. CB News presents. CBS News presents. Okay, I do want to acknowledge Arkash's comment here. I love your dirt. I love the earth. I will water your soil, and I don't use tinfoil. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. I love that. This is what is happening. Thank you, Jerry. At the closed meetings, at the likes of the WEF and the WHO folks. That is exactly what you're seeing, Jerry. And this was in 1967. Hello, Argument. Welcome in. Okay, so let's just go back and look at. So we looked at this one. Oh, I already passed it, but let's look again, and we'll pause on this one. I'm going to pause on this one spot here.
Simulation exercise. A panel of experts has studied a list of possible 21st century developments, from personality control.
Here was the one we didn't get to. So yeah, the increased importance of human concerns, cooperative international ocean farming. What does that fucking say? What the fuck does that say? Get the fuck out of here! If you don't walk away from this stream after listening to me for all these fucking years and don't go, that fucking cunt is the most brilliant bitch I have ever fucking met in my life, then don't ever come back. Because I've been saying this stuff from the get-go and not in the form. It's in that fucking book. It's in that book, The Decline of Supernatural Beliefs. They know these things will happen. They are ready for them, and they are marketing them to us through the big business think tanks of fucking death. Every fucking second of your day is being completely, you are so controllable. You don't even fucking know it. I'm being controlled right now because I know I should turn this fucking shit off, but I don't. Because I'm a kid and I'm desperate to solve the mystery and Scooby-Doo myself. I'm desperate to go and see that dead body and take a stick and poke it. And I'm desperate to get all the way to the end no matter fucking what. It's probably locked and clogged and you can't get through. And I go, I don't fucking care. I'm going. Stay behind. I don't care. I just can't do what everyone else is doing. Now I had that scene in that film. What is it? Where the earth freezes And everyone's like, we're going out in the cold. And he's like, don't go. And everybody wants to go. The band splits and the majority goes one way. And you're just standing there like, I told you not to go that way. There's a murderer that way. I just came from there. He's got an axe and everything, but they don't listen. And then that makes me think of walking on that trail and they got to put the spotlight on your feet or control your vision. That's magic. The spotlight, minding the gap and gaslighting and gray rocking and all of it. It's all there. That's everything. They're telling us, that's crazy. Growing bureaucracies. What does that say? I gotta hang on. Canned lectures by eminent professors on TV. Tactical behavior control devices. What the fuck? Hey, Paige. PD, I haven't seen you in ages. Oh my God. Mad love to Patriot Defense. I hope that's you. Otherwise, I just made out with a stranger in the room. Sorry, you got the wrong guy, girl, but have you ever had that happen where you like just run up to somebody? Oh, shit. You're not who I thought you were. So, my bad. Okay. That is just crazy. That is crazy what that says. Anyway, this is all generational control. This is the meaning of life stuff. Seriously. This is from day one. The very things that I have been coming out of my mouth, I keep finding. And I don't have any supernatural. I'm not a supernatural person. You should know that. I'm only a pattern watcher. And these are what they're doing. Now to find literally this, I couldn't have wrote, if I could have taken all my thoughts I've had and make it into a little video, this would be the video. This is fucking brilliant. Okay. So I'm gonna keep going and shut up for a minute. I'm done tooting my horn. So I've had enough of my moment. Thanks to all my friends who allow me to have that little moment every now and then where I can have an I told you so when I just burst at the seams when I find something and I'm like, I told you so, it's right there, I told you. Please acknowledge me. That, I appreciate you letting me do that. So kudos to my friends. Okay, so back to reality now. I'm off my cloud 9. I've climbed back down the ladder to reality. I'm in between the pillars and looking up. Okay, this is going to go on to tell us even more fantastical things. But when we're going to, and he's talking about, he's got all this absolutely horrible stuff right here on these boards. Just absolutely teaching by direct recording on the brain. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that, right? What would anybody watching this, would they not, what are they doing watching this? This wasn't shown to the average public. This was not shown. I have feelings that these little film strips, these are being leaked. You know what this, fuck you fuckers. You fucking fuckers. Okay, you know what this is? This is the monologue. The villain is monologuing while you're tied to the chair. He's monologuing. Here's how we did it. Okay, I started looking at the pattern of things and I noticed some stuff. And I started working on getting rid of supernatural beliefs. But everyone's going to already be getting rid of supernatural beliefs because we're double digits. Do you see what I'm saying? We're double digits. So we're already questioning the SANTA and the SA, right? We're already there at double digits once we hit the 10 mark. two numbers, 10, 11, 12. We're in the tween. We're in the 13th. This is the twilight zone. This is the tween zone. This is the now or never zone. That's kind of how I like to think of it. Now, I don't care if you believe that stuff with me. That's why I'm not looking for cult members. Okay, this is just my imagination of how I like to imagine if there is such a thing of escaping a matrix. This is my exit sign, or Gen X, exit, human species, stage left. So, and if you remember, that's the sign that lit up behind Alice in the school, in the classroom when you're leaving school. And now it's you, you are up to yourself, the rite of passage at the double digits. You decide your own future. You're going to follow that wooden fake GMO apple over to the foot of this side, or are you going to turn around and walk out that exit sign and leave the fucking school? That's it, you know. Don't rebel the extinction, right? The opposite of that. The opposite of that. Okay. I am super and I am all natural. Yes, that was good times, wasn't it? I got to meet PD, and he was. I'm a little person. I'm a very small person, and I have some physical things that happen, especially if I get super excited or I'm really nervous. So he kind of he had a conversation with my husband, and he kind of took ownership of me during a camping trip, and we're meeting a bunch of strangers, you know, kind of thing. And so he was a super rad dude, so appreciate that. Okay, yes, our cash is coming up.
Hello. Hello, Joni. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night.
Yes.
Can you hear as well? Oh well, I just like you and your channel in general. So you've got lots of energy and lots of information. It's just good to be on board. I'm in another dimension right now. I'm floating about. I've been earthing myself, and now I'm drunk. But yeah, hello, thanks.
And this is this about the view you have at the moment? Are you like this high?
Oh, I've been a lot higher than that, to be honest. I can see a lot. Yeah, I see more land in my view.
I love it. Is it flat?
Well, I look at it this way, Joni. Have you ever seen these weirdos who have like train sets and stuff, and they have like these little miniature worlds? I just see the earth that I live in, that my surrounding is just a little tiny place, like a little world like that, like Beetlejuice. That was all that is somebody's imagination in the loft, wasn't it?
I love that you say that. Okay, you want to hear all the thoughts that flooded in my mind when you said that?
Yeah. I mean, they say like, oh, a big person. I mean, in England, we claim Tyson Fury to be like the biggest and the baddest because he's 6'9", 250 pounds or whatever he is. But really, we're just small people. We're not giants like they used to be. There's no more trees. No, well, look at that photo. My photo there. There's no trees anywhere. What you see, like when we think of trees, it's just little pieces of moss on a big scale piece of land. We are minute. And like you was talking about yesterday, sorry to go off track. About
no, you're right on track. Go.
Being a part of the what was it, the uterus. All that sort. Yeah, it's that's how I see it. You know, when all the veins in the outer embryome and stuff, like when you look at the earth, all the valleys of the water, you know, all these are the veins of the earth. Yes. When you look from a real high altitude or across big land, like certain parts of like Canada, there's like big parts. Looks like in the autumn time when leaves get on the ground and they molt away and become mouldy and decay, and then they leave like an imprint, like a fossil on the floor. And that's kind of just what the earth is. That's why it's called Earth. It's the ground. But yeah, it's beautiful. Anyway, sorry to.
No, I love it. You're not too far off, because that thought process is actually my understanding. All right. So from my research, it's part of our human brain thought process to start with. And so it's part of our makeup. It's a conscious makeup that is in that developmental stage concept. So I'll give you some examples. The fact that we even have fairy tales about giants, the idea that we also have a lot of horror movies about being in doll houses or the dolls being small, anything like that. This is an unconscious collective symbolism. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And we even did it in Men in Black, where we showed ourselves being very small in the marble. We also, so to me, what that represents then, so now if I know that that's everywhere, Jack and the Beanstalk even, so it's always been around, another world above us that acts. Remember, he goes up there and there's a castle up there. So there must have been other castles on other clouds, the other beanstalks. Do you see what I mean? The concept.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, you know what castles, sorry to, you know, like, I've built, like, I'm not like no architect or nothing, but I've been part of like building like a few properties or houses and stuff and buildings. And you've got foundations, and foundations are normally so deep for the house. Now castles are so big, the foundations wouldn't be neat. So the foundations for a castle would have to be so like deep. You know, there was no point making a castle.
You just made me think of, okay, my brain.
Castles are always the top of something that's underground. That's
right.
what we're missing.
You know how, Arkash, when you're watching, say, a small puddle in the woods, so we'll use like your micro macro scale, and so the floods, and as the floods recede, and you just keep zooming in. So as they recede, I zoom in, so it looks like they never are going anywhere, and I'm zooming in.
Yes.
And now this is just me. Follow me, Arkash, and we're taking a trip through imagination. We're stepping into a book. What we could be a small puddle that is as the everything is drying up. You know, you can put a sci-fi movie and you're like, you don't realize it's you. And then it's finally your turn to dry up. Almost like a draining. You know, when it says things like drain the swamp, and you think of like sands through an hourglass, and I have this concept that like I'm a piece of sand and you know, in a giant hourglass, and I just popped in the bottle first, which makes me in the bottle longer. That's where I think they get the idea of like an old soul. It's not that you are an old soul or whatever. It's something about your sand has just been mulling around in here longer than another piece of sand that's just popping in. It's like saying a senior is an old soul compared to a kindergartner. That would be in that reference. That's how you would say that. It doesn't make them better. It just means they've been in school longer. They've just been around a little bit longer. Anyway, I kind of like that idea of like the trees are our trees are little sprouts of moss on a much small. And you know what that goes into? That goes into that. What is that thing? The Mendel's virus, or what is that fucking thing called? You know what I'm talking about?
Sure what it is. Is it like kind of like, well, I remember asking a science teacher when I was at school, when they were trying to like indoctrinate us into like thinking like a scientist. When they were like, we were looking through a microscope at bacteria, and I questioned, well, what will be on the back of that bacteria? Will be bacteria be on the back of that bacteria, and bacteria be on the back of that? And it's kind of like looking into like two mirrors, like a mirror in front and a mirror behind, where it's just endless.
Right.
Like how small can you go and how big can you go?
Right. An infinite amount of, when do we, you never do. That's what that, who knows math? I can't think of the fucking name of that thing, but it looks like.
I think it's five, don't they?
I'm just going to find, what is that called? Somebody knows. It looks like a little amoeba. And every time you go into another little part of it, it just creates itself again. So it's a never ending
cycle of
creation. Yeah. It's really neat. And it's what they believe that the universe, it's the shape they think that it's the shape they think the universe is in. It's that.
Yeah, that's isn't that the 369, the key to the universe? And when you put it onto I don't know, some type of graph, it's like a snail shell. It goes goes in a circle, but it goes in a spiral at the same time,
Right.
and
Hey,
it connects
Abraham,
back,
good to see you.
connects back to a 90-degree angle.
Yeah, it is a fractal. It's a duck. How are you? I called you out. You came out. You're like, oh, fuck her. It's a fractal. Well, it's good to see you. It's a duck. Yeah, it is a fractal, but it has it does have a name, a specific, like a something virus. Ah, fuck. I wish I had that ability. That's why I don't. I just can't hold things like that. I can only think in ways of behaviors. If I can't memorize things to hold it back, I'd have to see it like so many times for it to remain in my head. Okay. So this video, Arkash,
Yes.
had you ever realized, I know you've heard me describe think tanks, but did you ever realize that is exactly, they do really just do this? You knew this, surely.
Yeah, of course.
Of course you did.
That's all it's
But
for.
did you know they used dice? Did the Dungeons and Dragons get you at least? Or did you?
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't know none of that Dungeons and Dragons stuff. No. But yeah, it's to be honest, yeah, it's all fascinating to me, and yeah, just keep up the good work, Joni.
Oh, well, I just found this morning, and just, of course, I'm listening to it. I'm going to play it some more, and then we'll talk a bit in a minute. Listening to it, it just blew my mind. What are they saying? You know, and this is public. They want us to know this is what you like, the idea of the monologue. That's a good idea. The bad guy's monologuing, right? That's what's happening here. The Joker's monologuing. Okay. It is. It isn't the Fibonacci, but they're all in there. But I can't for the life of me. It's something virus I want to say because it grows and grows and grows. So, something I can't think. Anyway, I'm not sure I'll be able to find it, but okay, I'm going back to the video now. I'll play a little bit more.
Drugs to household robots. They have estimated the numerical probability of each from 0 to 100%.
To be reconstituted in some distant place?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that controllers like to do is that they want to create the narrative. So in 1967, when this was recorded, Mr. Cloud Eyes there, Mr. Google Eyes, googly woogly. He tells you that he believes in the future. I just saw on this sign all these really horrible things, but the one thing that he wants to tell me is that I'll be able to be taken apart here and reassembled somewhere else. And I immediately think of The Fly. So why is that what he tells me? Why is that what he picks? Of all of those things on the table, he doesn't warn me about weather modification and military weapons. That is what that said in the same line together, as if they're connected, right? So clearly, I don't know. They didn't divide those two. They put them together, and here we are. Silver oxide. And this guy tells me that I'm going to be disassembled and reassembled. He gives me the most ridiculous. This is a narcissistic behavior. This goes in narcissism 102 category of something you don't realize. They sell you a fairy tale so that you don't recognize the truth. And in that, what he really meant to say is that we're going to disassemble your DNA, your voice, your eyes, your behaviors. We're going to disassemble everything that is to make you human, and we're going to reassemble you in our own image, possibly a digital image or whatever flavor Kool-Aid that is for you. But that's what he meant to say. You're not going to physically go from one place to another. But we have been broken down, and they can recreate us. So that's what I think this guy is saying. But let's keep going, because this is where, after this, it gets real fucking interesting what they say. And what, Joe, remember where you heard it first. Remember, you heard it here first. Okay.
Today, at our universities and research centers, in government and in business, the futurists are looking at the 21st century. They do not pretend to be prophets. They say the future cannot be predicted. It will be invented, and it is determinable.
What the fuck did he just say? Let's go over and look. Oh my God. Remember, these are business people. And what is business? Science, generational studies, and magic, and consumerism. And here he says, in the centers in government and in business, the futurists are looking at the 21st century. They do not pretend to be prophets. Are they a prophet generation? Yes, they were. My God, there it is. They say that the future cannot be predicted, but it will be invented. And it is determined people determinable people, abominable, horrible, deplorable people can determine the future if they understand and then decide on the choices open to them. The most important choices are likely to be sociological, political, and economic, not technological. In this broadcast, we will look at the future with the futurists, with these men. Sir Peter Brian McDowell. Yes, he's a Nobel Peace-winning zoologist. He's a fucking zoologist. What is a zoologist? A behavioralist. They study animal behaviors. Fuck. Wow. Go sell Sir Peter. He's even a sir. Oh my God. That's fucking brilliant. I mean, you do know that. Dennis Gabor is a physicist at the Imperial College of Science and Technology, London, and the author of Inventing the Future. Daniel Bell, the author of Inventing the Future, that's his book, that's the name. Dennis is physicist. What do physicists do? Why is he here? And Daniel Bell is the chairman of sociology department. Sociology, Columbia University, head of the commission for the year 2000. Whoa! He's at the sociology department. What is that? And don't forget, Walter Sullivan is a science editor of the New York Times. Get the fuck out of here. Do you know that? Walter, good job. That's Gerald Paroli, or P-O. I don't know, but he's an editor and publisher of the magazine Scientific America. Oh, yes, American, sorry. Lord Ritchie, for fuck's sakes, is a science writer. But are you listening to what I am reading? These are all the things. Why do they always have a science fiction writer? Why do they always have a behavioralist? Why do they always have these things? Do you know? I don't know why, except that it's important to the story that they're inventing as the prophets.
Well, they are the rulers, aren't they? They are the gods.
Exactly.
We don't know.
Yes.
They create our world that we don't know. That's why we live a lie, an illusion, not a life.
That is exactly it. Wow. Oh, let me see what the chat is saying. Okay. Hebrews says the human body cannot pass from the third to the fourth dimension body. It is not designed to do so. You little shit. That's so fucking interesting what you said. So I've been thinking lately, because in the meaning of life now, time has its own. If time is fourth dimension, time has its own phase of development that it's going through. And so like the earth is going through her midlife crisis. She's moving from a young adult into
She's on a period. That's what she is.
having her menopause. She's not having a period. She's
Yeah.
menopausal. She's no longer making life. Her eggs are disappearing. There's no new species being discovered. Do you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
it's
of
going
course.
opposite. Her kids are growing up and moving on to the next. So the humans, they're the last of its kind. And so what I hear here, so with that, so knowing that the earth's there, human beings were adolescents, which fits a mother that's going through menopause. Also, the daughters are starting to have their periods. This is exactly when the normal ages tend to play out. Do you notice this? So the earth's having her things, mama's having her things. And then the human beings, they're adolescents, and we're having our rite of passage into the fifth stage, whatever that is, or fourth dimension. And the third dimension is where time resides. Time resides in the third dimension, which is a toddler dimension. And that's very interesting what you're saying there, Hebrew Hammer, for some reasons I'll explain now. So a 3-year-old, most of our memories don't start till after 4, right? Memories don't create in a child's mind till after 3 or 4. Those are the earliest memories. Some people can have them. They're an exception to the rule. The average human does not remember pre-4, 3 or 4 there. And typically it would be some type of traumatic or special event that's remembered. It wouldn't be some ordinary conversation that you had, right? So they're going to be solidified memories for that child, as opposed to just organic, if the earlier they are. Do you get what I mean? So for example, my grandfather was very young when he came over here, and in the 2 to 3 range, and he could physically remember seeing the Statue of Liberty. So he had a full vision of that. It was a very traumatic experience for him. And so coming over, he remembers all the excitement, even in his young, barely able to get around body. He can remember what that was like when it was seen in the horizon and the reaction of people on the ship. So I think that was really interesting. So the Bible also tells me that I can get into heaven with the mind of a child. There's something innocent about the child, right? The rapture says things like the child, the children are saved, right? And we think children literally, but the meaning of life says that we're children cosmically as well. Again, do we have to accept this future as it's being given to me? Do I need to step into their matrix, if you will? Do I need to accept their degree and say I'm going to university? Do I need to go and extend my learning further, or can I just check out here?
That's all control. That's all control of your mind to succeed with taking your soul. For most of it.
And then, I think that the other day we were talking, Arkash, and we were talking about time, the watch, right? And there's 3 things. This is 3 things a con man or a pickpocket, a thief will steal, take from you. A con man will either take your time, so that's where you get timeshares and things. They're going to take your time. A salesman takes your time away from you. They spend 15 minutes with you. You've given them, give me 5 minutes to pitch to you. So they take your time, they take your identity, or your, like this, a transhumanism. They take your avatar, your name, your whatever, it's your ID. So a long time ago, they would have gone by your name. They would have moved to America and taken over the name of some guy who died in Germany, and the story of him being a coffee shop owner, and who knows what they did, right? and then they steal your wallet or your money, your coin. Isn't that interesting? They've done like all three now.
It is.
We're giving
Well, they know how it works because they're in control. You would never put a dog in charge of a building site while building the World Trade Centers.
Right.
Because he doesn't know what's going on. He just wants to chase a ball. You need a businessman who knows what's going on. And this businessman, he's not going to do it free. He's going to be making just as much money as what the building's going to be worth, because he's the guy who's sort of behind it all or in control, or there'll be a few people. And this is how business works, like you said. It's always government and business in the beginning. And us being us, who are we? We just go to work, pay taxes. And if you don't, you know,
just sign here, sign here, sign here. When are you responsible for your signature? At what age are you responsible?
Well, you're not responsible for your own birth, are you? You don't decide that your parents have sex.
Right. Right.
It's their choice, and whether it's their choice or, you know. That's how I look at it.
Departmentalization argument says the black cube, check, cha-ching. And departmentalization. Gets more interesting. But I really appreciate that you'll go out there with me on some sci-fi ideas, because as much as I stay in reality of what I can prove with this here, I do also love the realm of imagination and going out there to think what might be after this realm. You know, how could I make that to where it feels comfortable for me? Because I can't supernatural. So the idea of shifting from one form of energy to another form of energy.
A lot of us only ever get the experience when we die. Some of us maybe faced death and seen something similar. To me, when I had a head injury and I was in a coma, I mean, I wouldn't say I was on the brink of death for myself, but medical terms, they said, it was touch and go. You had like 24 hours where you had like a massive head injury where your body was going to reject the head injury and die, or fight it and survive.
Right.
And this is where like I sort of like woke up to being like, because everything before that was different. Like nothing was the same when I was fully conscious again. Everything was different. Everything before was forgotten about and gone. It was a new beginning. Now, in my time when I was in a coma, the only vision I remember having was just a view like my photo, like a show, but like in like a electrical form. No matter how you went, it was the world was electric. It was just run by electricity. It was just like bolts of lightning that you couldn't see, and it was all purple and green, and everybody was just nobody was a vessel, like a dead body. That's what everybody is, a dead body. It's just a machine. It'll just work while maybe it's being at work. But for the rest of it, we're just electric energy and beings and souls. Now we'll come back to why all the government want our souls, our birth certificate from the day we're born, make us a number and a product or an item. Now, going back to it's a cartoon that's called Monsters Inc. Incorporated, or whatever it's called, Monsters Inc. Now, they steal the laughter of the children, or they steal the screams from children when they frighten them on a night time under the moon. Now, is this what they do with our souls? When they suck our souls, do they create their own energy in whirlpools of, you know?
Well, that's really interesting because if I was to reverse that film, so if I was to see that in a reverse image, it would tell me that what they really do, the truth of that, is they suck our souls while we're awake, our screams
There you
while we're
go. There you go. And what you do when you're awake?
awake. Because I find it, I suffered with, the nightmares like anyone else did, but at an early age, I started, I guess it's called lucid dreaming. I didn't know that. There was no such thing, but I could, change the dream. I could just, well, I don't like this, and change where I am, or, but I had an imagination. So I never thought it was different. But the point is that that's in my dreams. In my reality, though, I haven't any control. They have all the control. They can roll a dice and change. Okay, it was weather control today. That takes me back to that Pharaoh card game that I've been sharing, where the dealer controls everyone's hand. So if Steve winning a little too much, I just let Bob win because Bob's getting discouraged and he wants to leave the table. So I let Bob win. My job as the dealer is to let these people win enough that I eventually take all their money. It's not to beat them. It's to beat them overall. It's a bigger game there. You see what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
It just is crazy. Now I'm working with a partner who's going to win ultimately here, but I'm going to let him go down to zero. I'm going to let him sweat it out. I might even have him leave the table today so that you'll all see him back here at the saloon tomorrow. You see what I mean? And we're literally playing the money we won from the last town we were in. It's called money laundering. And every time I take a little bit more off the top, I mean, they couldn't be so clearer. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit more. So you're definitely finding this to be worthy of talking about. So happy to have found friends. Oh my God. It's taken me years. I knew when I knew it when the British invasion happened, something happened to me because I started to find not friends. I had friends. What would I say? More of a peer group, like minds of consciousness.
Yeah. Because I find when you say like groups of friends, from my experience growing up, when I've seen like groups of friends, they've all done everything together. They've all wore the same things. They've all dressed the same. They all drive the same type of car. They all go out the same type of house.
We have a lot of similarities, more so.
I just like being a drifter and just go my own way.
Yeah.
Whether you listen to Fleetwood Mac or not.
Well, lots of people enjoy listening to my thoughts, but there's only a few that actually participate in my thoughts. And so that's kind of how I mean that. There's only a few that not just give me ideas, but bounce with me, that think even further than me. I don't know flat earth. I don't know space. I don't know these things. I have a friend now who has as much knowledge about those things as I do about these things.
Well, you've got your own natural feelings and surroundings. You know that you don't feel like you're spinning 1,000 miles an hour, flying forward 1,000,000 miles an hour around the sun and stuff like that.
I like to play in all playgrounds. I don't stick in one.
Well, of course,
very few people go around and play in lots. You know what I mean? You guys play in all kinds of sandboxes. That's the best way to put it, I think.
Well, for most of it, Joni, I'm just logic. I just think how would that like yourself, you reverse things or whatever. How would I put that in a real term? Now, from the day up when I was told I lived on a little stone floating in nothingness, because really they say it's so big, 25,000 miles in circumference or whatever it is, for a little person like me and you. I mean, you only little like you claim, so it's the world's a big place, but really in a vast of nothingness, it's tiny. Like, what about when just like when I'm sitting on the couch all day watching YouTube, there's tiny particles of my skin, what we'll call dust, floating around. And you won't be able to see that even with a naked eye, or even with a telescope. You would never be able to track a piece of dust. Because if space was like that, we would be able to have cameras in our house and track tiny particles of fart around your living room. But we cannot do it, and that's what they claim we are. Anyway, I'm going off track again. Controllers.
No, open thought.
Yeah.
Will we become an intellectual society? Is the title. I think
Oh no! Well, it's gone, isn't it?
fits right in.
The Romans took all that from us, so they claim in history.
Mm.
They were the last ones to come and destroy and give us viaducts and spirit levels.
Mm-hmm.
They know, well, no one's calculating curvature here over long distances of land. But you say it's 1 inch per mile.
Yeah.
I
I like the idea of, I do like the concept of the rapture. I think in itself, it has some validity, but the way it's explained is absolutely ridiculous. Why do you think that only God's going to wait till all of the middle-class Christians are having to suffer and then he'll show up, fuck everyone else?
Well, there's none of that really. That's all just a farce.
But
It's just
the
a joke.
idea of some type of massive vibration type frequency. So we have this in the symbolism of the Bible with the walls of Jericho coming down. So this frequency that could essentially just zap whatever is natural out, whatever's left. You know, these are the ideas I have. I have some things why it's not just Bible. The business also tends to lean towards this. This is why they are building underground tunnels. CERN doesn't make wormholes in space. It makes wormholes under the ground.
Yes.
And I think they're pumping oil out of strategic places to whatever, for whatever.
Well,
there's something there. Okay.
Well, you're missing a trick there, Joni.
Okay.
They call us the human race. And what is a race? The race is always to the end.
To the end.
Now, imagine you're a worm or a seed. Where are you going to be? Deep underground.
Yes, I'm hibernating for a minute. Something really massive is going
to So just say you're a seed. What's your race? Your race is to get to the sunlight. So it's to feed your way through the soil to the top. Now, humans have been deep underground for a long time. Jamiroquai told you that in the song.
Yes.
Going deep underground. Or virtual insanity, I think the song's called.
He doesn't say they're deep. They're going deeper as the theater is flooding. Yes.
So that's why we are human race, because we are the little people. We've been a race to get to the top. We've always been like the borrowers, or whatever you call them, the burrowers. The giants have always been on top and ruled the lands, like with the big trees. You know, all these flat-top mountains that we'll claim are mountains, but they were once just trees. They're everywhere. We've been a race to get to the top and survive, because everything else has maybe gone to another pond, you know, on another land, or...
And do I have to? That's the ultimate question.
Well, because we've been the survivors, we're under control. We've been under control for a long time.
I'll tell you this, you know, so I've had near-death experiences. I have out-of-body experiences. I have a condition. I could be selling all kinds of crazy on YouTube and really be banging in the bucks right now if I wanted to. With the crazy things I could write about and say during my experiences and claim that they're supernatural when they're not. And tell people the idea of what heaven is. One of the things you said that resonates really well with me is that it's energy or some type of frequency. That's exactly the image that I got, the visual of static. So that was like a TV static. And so that was the symbols that was given to me, that it's all electric. And it's as if these little this time that we're experiencing this part, it only touches the two. I have drawings of what was shown to me in the very beginning, and it was these kind of wave patterns that I wrote down two. So before I had put together the consciousness developing further, in a different stage of development, I had this, it said there's two separate things that interact with each other, but are unaware of each other. And they're only become aware of each other when they touch, when they hit. So you have these pinch points.
Yeah.
Kind of is what I called them in my notes, a pinch point. So that pinch point being a time or physical, and it doesn't last forever. It's, it would eventually, the static is going to separate, right? It's all that was, a very long time ago. So same kinds of things, same kinds of concepts. And when I hear you say that, I'm so on board with that, because that is this, I was given the exact same message with my own symbolism, which equaled my understanding. So to argue over who saw what. So yeah, okay. You had a near death and you saw Jesus. That does not mean that Jesus is the only way. It means that was your way, because that was your story that was told at that moment. You get this one, you get this one, you get this
Jesus was never a real guy. Jesus was a misinterpretation for the rain.
Mm-hmm.
I will see clearly now the rain is gone. Father, Son, Mother Earth, and that's what it is.
Mm.
You got your Father, Son, who will seed the Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
In their blessing is the rain, who will feed from the sky to the earth, which is Jesus being reborn, coming from the seas and the rivers and the ponds, and your coffee cup back it gets evaporated into the sky and feeded down with rain.
Mm-hmm.
But never mind. Big up Jesus.
Big up.
They all kill him, he's got a beard, and I'm like, dude, man, when I had long hair and a beard, people said I looked like George Best.
I didn't know who that is.
Well, he was an Irish footballer. He played for Manchester United. He was football team. He was an alcoholic. He was the greatest footballer ever. He was better than Pele. Put it that way.
I have seen his picture now.
But anyway, that's enough about football, because that's another distraction like porn and gambling.
It is, but don't you find it interesting that the businesses love sports, porn, and gambling?
This is kind of why I remember doing research back in the day. I would never have a Vodafone in the UK. You were either like Orange or O2 or Vodafone, or there was only like a T-Mobile. There was only a certain few with Vodafone.
Right.
I did a bit of research on them, and they were like they owned all the porn websites in the world.
Interesting.
And they were like runners of like Formula One team McLaren with Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso. And I was like, wow, Santander have got the fingers in there as well, And then a few weeks later, one of my good friends, he worked for Petronas, who at the time was Michael Schumacher came back, and Mercedes become a Formula One team with Ross Brawn. My mate worked in promotions there. He was a big gay guy from Essex. He had the big quiff and right forward he was. And he said, listen, Lewis Hamilton, your racing boy there, he's gay. This was like 2009 or something, 2011, 12. And I was like, nah, he can't be. He says, dude, I've been around him for a couple of days. I've been sweet with him. He's a batty boy. And I'm like, no. And he's like, the all at it. He's being controlled massively by that elite that you always talk about. I'm like, really? He's like, he is. And then within a couple of years, he's sucking Tommy Hilfiger off, wearing all these cross-dressing like girls' clothes with like boys with pearls and.
Right.
I mean, for some of it, carry it off. People in the swing of 60s and the 70s. Wore pearls and stuff, or maybe it's the fucking dead man's undergarments, but it was all just because they were on acid, not because you were being pushed by photographers and,
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of examples. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No. I'm going to play some more of this. I'm going to play some more
I'll
of this.
skin up. I'm just going to run off for a week, so I'm a little bit desperate.
Yeah, I
for
would.
a jolly.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I will play this. While you're doing that, we'll listen to. I might leave the words on and let it just go through here instead of looking at their ugly faces. So here we go.
In the year 2000 and see how things are then. I said, see how things are to be. I would hate it because I don't know. I don't want to know how things are to be. I want to exert action as long as I live so that the sort of things which should, in my opinion, be, have more chances of being. If they're all set, it doesn't interest me anymore to see the year 2000, and it interests me to see the year 1000. The merit of the future is that it is not set. The merit of the future is that it is the area in which we can exert our will, exert our efforts, and try to validate our values. That is the merit of the future.
Some people talk.
That is brilliant. So in big business, law of attraction, law of manifestation, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about the law of manifestation there. I'll pull this over a little bit. Now I can do it. Okay. So he says that he doesn't, in the year 2000, how things are then, I said, to see how things are to be. I can't remember how he said that. Anyway, he's thinking about what they could be, is what he's saying. And he would hate it because he doesn't want to know how things are to be. He wants to exert, and he wants to make them his way.
He creates his own way, doesn't he?
There you go. Thank you.
Well, my mum left me when I was 14, right? But like on a weekend, my dad worked away, and on a weekend we'll go shopping. We'll go to Bishop Auckland, maybe go to Durham or go to Darlow. But every time we went to Bishop Auckland, my mum always said to me, when you were born, and it was like a big house. It was like the house from Home Alone. She said, you were born in that house. And went for the first year of your life, you escaped and you lived up a tree. And that's what she told us. That was this was from as early as I can remember. And now she ended up leaving me dad because she was having an affair for 16 years, and she moved about 500 yards from that house. And she always manifested, or what do you call it, a vision to self. Is that the same thing? Living there.
About self-actualization.
Yeah.
These are all business terms. Jim Carrey does a really great thing.
She married a Freemason anyway.
Huh?
She married a Freemason anyway.
Who?
My mum.
Oh, your mom did? Oh.
Kind of how I know. Yeah, it's kind of how I know.
Right. So did mine. We have another thing in common. But yeah, the Jim Carrey does a really good talk about it when he does his $100 bill or $1,000 he wrote to her, whatever, $100,000 he wrote to himself. And then, so it's the law of manifestation. It's stepping out, which is really the law of manifestation is the law of three. You can break it down. Yeah. So the law of attraction last, the law of manifestation. So first it goes the law of three, set into motion. The law of three says what I do today won't affect my business for 90 days. That's 3 months. The law of three says a police officer asks you how many drinks you have. You say 2. He times that by 3. So they practice the law of three in all things that they do. And that means that we can apply that law of three to them. So this goes back to how far advanced are their weapons really? We can multiply that by 3. And if I was a business person, and this is what I think is really happening, it's multiplied by 3 again. So it's not 150 years advanced. In other words, they've not been hiding. It's not advanced. They've not been, it's hiding. They've hid it for 150 years. I think it's more like been hid for 600 years. Yes.
Wow.
I think
I was
that,
just thinking the same, because now you just hit a nail there. Because when I was growing up,
go.
there was a certain period, like my mum always liked frogs, and she always had frogs, and then she wiped out with frogs when she went through all that time. She mentioned like when she nicked off, and everything was in threes in her new house. Everything was in threes, and I never clicked onto this.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, just say she would have a marble, like a marble on the earth. She would have 3 marbles. If she had a vase in the toilet, she would have 3 vases.
Weird.
I never noticed that. Yeah.
I think these things, whenever I have these moments, and so I'm just going to be honest, from an outsider, I'd go, okay, that's weird. But then I have the exact same kind of stuff that's just randomly weird things that you remember, and you're like, crap, that happened. And so whenever I have those happen to me, I like to look at them as like a breadcrumb that I left myself, and not in the fact that she had 3s, but that you recognized the 3s. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you left yourself a breadcrumb by remembering and taking note. Because see, if it wasn't off and you're unconscious, you wouldn't even have noticed it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like your back self went back and left you a clue that you can now use today for those know thyself moments. Figure out the truth. Yes. A past you left you a nugget that shows up today. You don't know why you had it. Remember in a treasure hunt, or not in a treasure hunt, but in these, I leave a Polaroid or a clue, and you have to collect all of them in order to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to have all the pieces to solve this puzzle. It doesn't work. They did that.
Well, that's kind of how it was, like I become like a non-globe believer, living on like a level Earth or a flat Earth, whatever the way you want to think I'd describe it. Well, that was kind of, after all the years of growing up, and them giving me indoctrination about the place I live, and me doing all my own research, kind of one day, it was like I had a jigsaw box. Like, I had a jigsaw in a box, all scrambled up, and one day I took the lid off, and it was all just in place. And I'm like, wow, is that really how it is? This piece goes over there, that piece connects into these 3 pieces.
Interesting.
You know, kind of like a waterworks of like your estate, where your water will come in one way, it'll flow around all the houses, and it'll flow back out another way and connect into another city or another town. And everything will flow together, and everything's connected to one another. It's kind of like, well, everything around us, all your grass and your leaves, your trees, everything has got a connection to something else.
This has happened to me a couple of times, right? So the first time I didn't take it, it's probably happened 3 times. That's
yeah, well, of course.
But one day I was driving, and I swear to God, and it's the same trip I take. I only go one place if I leave the house, right? So this is just my backwoods. It's a beautiful drive.
Yeah, to the dealer's house, get some ammunition.
Yeah, there you go. I got to get some bales of hay and some bullets.
Yep.
Okay. That's funny to me. All right. Thank you for that laugh. Okay. So I'm in my truck though, not a tractor. Tractor's for in town. This one's a truck trip.
Hey, Suzanne. Hi, Paul.
So every song from the minute I started my engine, every lyric, every song, including like the route number or the interstate number or the name of the street.
Oh, yeah.
Was in the fucking radio. That was a weird one. And I was
like Truman Burbank.
Get the fuck out of here. Oh, it was weirding me out. And that's happened to me, again. And even like the colors of the cars one time were all specific colors. And for that song, that was the song. It was these kinds of weird, like, what the fuck? Like, I really had a moment that I thought, if I was on drugs, I would be really scared right now. Otherwise, this is kind of neat, one of those things. So I totally have these kind of, and it's all my perspective. My passenger would not be having that experience. It's all because I'm tuned into whatever these lyrics are trying to tell me, whatever my
Yes.
unconscious mind is trying to share with me in a fairy tale fun way that I can either take literally or figuratively and go, you know what?
So would you say, Johnny, we live more in a matrix?
Yeah,
Of course.
I would maybe, but of our own making. Because again, I can design that. I can tune that in or tune that out. I can be oblivious to all of these microscopic things in the film, or I can be aware of them.
Yeah.
And one of the things about driving, especially when you're driving long and windy roads or long stretches of highway, you get in lucid states. Your imagination starts to come in and you go on an autopilot type driving scenario. That's why accidents can happen oftentimes, because especially on freeways, because you're in a very and then suddenly and the reaction of people, you're not there, you're not present in that moment. You are on autopilot. So it's like the pilot taking a crap in the bathroom and a bird hitting, or something like that. The autopilot isn't able to avoid things that come out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure they are now, but in their
well, no, well, of course not, because you're involving artificial intelligence. You're expecting somebody else, which is not even a person, to take control. And I know humans make more mistakes than robots and machines. Because you could have a machine that lifts and stamp to stamp a million times a second, but a human could never do that. A human would fail. He'd get depressed.
By design.
Yeah. But a machine wouldn't.
Adolescent is a very depressed person in general. So if my consciousness is at adolescent, then the idea of where they say in here emotional medications, or what was it that they said, what the fuck? Get out of here, controlling people's through
Oh yeah.
Whatever that said, whatever Freemason term they used there, business term, to make it sound like something that wasn't. I think that they've known about these patterns. I do think. I mean, this is where
Well, that's why they did all that MK Ultra. I mean, they said they stopped all that, but once you find out our machine, like. If like the car wasn't never invented, it was discovered, which it might have been. If you discovered a car in a garage, over time, you and your mates are going to figure out how it works. You got to put petrol in it, fill it with oil, some water. This works that one. This one goes around there, and that goes through there. You'll end up reverse engineering over time, because people, and that's kind of what they've done with the mind. Never mind with the body.
Well, and they do that through generations, creating these ebb and flows of overindulgence.
Yeah. Once upon a time, if you broke your leg, you would sew it off, and you wouldn't have. They would wonder why you were screaming, and then they said, "Oh, why don't we give them an antibiotic? Some of this might knock them out."
Right. Just shut him up.
Yeah.
That sounds like a murderer that says, "Shut up, shut up, shut up."
And don't forget, everybody's got a mind. So if you think, how does a mind work? And I say, well, mine works like this, Jordan. And you say, well, yeah, mine works like this. And we say, we high-five each other. We have like a chest pump and whatever they do if you're an American footballer. And then we'll go see Paul O'Neill, say, hey, Paul, how's your mind work? And he say, mine works like this. So we all discover there's, I don't know, a group of us here, our mind works together. But we can go just say using someone just out random name out of a hat. I'll pull it out of a hat there. Jason's channel. We go over there, and they've got different minds to us. Yeah, they've all got different minds to us. So we kind of think, well, now what? Well, we can control them. You see, we can like they do with the sheep. Because if you look at a farmer, All he does, he whistles, and his sheepdog does all the rest. The sheepdog will, this whistle, it'll go around, come by, and all that. So he controls the sheep from a hill with a dog. Now, if you think he minds the sheep, or you know, the government of the who's the whistler?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at it anyway.
This is what you made me think of. So,
well, the sheepdogs, the government of the sheepdog and the sheepdogs, and then behind the sheepdog, you've got a farmer who's a whistler.
Yes, a lot of symbolism there. This is what I think of when I hear the word mine. So this is the toddler rules of possession. Notice the crown. Do you notice the symbolism even of the 3-year-old symbolism? This is the toddler years. The years between 18 months and 3, ending at 3. And then, you know, at your 4th year, you start preschool. So your 3rd year is I'm an individual and on a separate being. I can now move away from I've mastered running and walking. I'm there now. I'm going to super master it, right? Because 4-year-olds learn how to chase each other and race. So the toddler rules of possession. And if the 3rd dimension is time, 4th dimension is time, then time is in a toddler dimension or toddler behavioral cycle. So this is what time will look like. It will have the behaviors of a toddler. So let's see if it does.
Is time not just getting you in tune to, you know, if you've got a few ticking clocks in your house, eventually they'll all tick at the same rate. So they'll all tick together, tick tock, throughout your whole house, because does all time do that? Like, have we all got the same time, even though we're all born at different times? Do we all tune in together at one time, or?
Yeah, like a chime, a mime chime. The day the earth stood still, mine. I always think of the mime when I think of this stage, because the colors and the movements of a mime are very toddler. This is where they start to look in the mirror and explore looking at their face. When they reach preschool and those early years there, this is where they start looking at themselves a lot. They want to see when they're crying and they catch themselves in the mirror, they'll look at themselves crying. They'll have a moment where they'll take, so in Montessori schools, 3-year-old rooms often have mirrors in them, and 2-year-old rooms, because these toddling years is an understanding of this mirror image of self, the reflection of yourself. It's where you recognize yourself separate, right? Because up until that point, you would see a reflection and think you saw another baby. This is the age that you learn that you're a separate human being, which is why it's the first massive I am moment that you have. It's the first time that it's where your rebellion comes in and you throw.
So what about people who live in tribes and who don't have mirrors, and maybe until they see their own reflection by looking into water?
Well, that's exactly it. We would still learn this behavior regardless. We would be attracted to shiny things, and even a not so shiny thing gives me a reflection, even if it's just a shadow of myself, which could explain why shadows and things like that got some of the symbolism that they did.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm looking into something that's shiny, you know, a polished piece of, shit, cow shit, or whatever people do. And I'm only seeing a shadow. And then I could identify that as my opposite self, as opposed to my own image. But we would have always had water. We would have always had water.
Is a spoon bending?
Huh? Yeah,
kind
exactly.
of moment where is it the spoon that's bending, or
There's
is the spoon
never
really
a culture that wouldn't have had water, ever, and still water, because the minute we could have held it up. And so all it takes is our gaze to catch that reflection, and that catching of the reflection will happen when we start to roll over. So you can see in antiquity through our myths and things where these, if you lay that on top of our developmental cycles, it lines up real nice with right there where you would be recognizing your own image. In other words, you could look in the water a million times, but it's only today that you see that separate self there, that you go, oh my God, that's a person. I've been looking at a person every time I've been drinking into the water. Hello, person. Is there a person in the water? And now I have myths of things being in the water. It makes sense that that's what these stories are talking about. They're more about a developmental stage of understanding than they are some creature of the deep. And we've added the extra to it. In reality, it's a clever way for an imagination to explain something that it can't yet. But I understand there's no talking turtles by the time I'm 10, okay? I'm no longer believing that turtle is talking, you know. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And then that goes a lot into some of the Alice in Wonderland symbolisms that's there with the things that are talking. And that being that in-between zone. What's really interesting about this in-between zone is all the books are in between. You talk about some synchronicities, Arkash. My wee one and I've listened to some audiobooks at night, and after we've read ourselves. And we've gone through several, and so we had picked Peter Pan, and I hadn't read Peter Pan, you know, I hadn't read it since a kid, and that's scary in itself when you listen to it.
Well, of course. the real story, and then when you go back and find out when we look at God and who the God of Pan really is, kind of no wonder they're pushing the rainbow.
Well, but see, the real Peter Pan wasn't even about that stuff. The story of Peter Pan is about an in-between world, the world between little boy and man, adolescence. And that fight within ourselves to want to grow up and yet stay young. And his lost boys that are constantly drooling and having moments of micro boners looking at Wendy. The way they treated her, the way they were with it's an extremely bizarre story, and I may break it up, but I may just do it in my own mind. I'm not sure if I could translate it as well as it's unfolding in my own mind. But back to synchronicities. So
but it's great because this is exactly what Disney was. He was a 33rd degree Freemason.
It's a pervertedness.
Well, of course,
I will not play it for her.
That's exactly what it was. He's showing you his mind. Mm-hmm. He's not creating things for you to look at. He's giving you thoughts of his own head. And when you put it into all the real terms, they're all fucking sick weirdos.
Yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, so the synchronicity. So we did that, and then that got me thinking. So, you know, something else popped up and so there was a Peter Pan quote somebody threw out there, and something else I was watching, and I was like, well, now that's kind of. And then last night I go in to listen to a story about, I had it in my saved list, going back to the old fairy tales. So it was fairies, and so the topic was like these guys, I think they were English, but they were talking about the history of fairies, and they were going back to all of the old like Celtic and Welsh and whatever Scottish, like Irish type folklores. So they were going off to a totally different than what you get anywhere else. So if anybody's interested, I'll go grab the link. And right out the gate, it's no intent, not connected. It was connected, but not connected. And they start talking about Peter Pan and the way that Disney portrayed Tinkerbell as a fairy and so forth and so on. And I was like, what the heck? So now I'm like even more interested in Peter Pan again, because it lent itself to the the little pixie. Then there was arguments in the chat. It was like Tinkerbell was a pixie, not a fairy, but Tinkerbell was a woman. She wasn't a little girl, and she was very jealous of Wendy, and you almost killed her in the book out of jealousy. So it's playing on all of these behaviors the behaviors of this woman who sees these boys as her in her care, and here comes Wendy frolicking
Moira,
around,
Angela Darling,
right? Huh?
wasn't it? I think it's from Hook, the movie with
Yeah.
Robin Williams.
Yes.
Wendy Moira, Angela Darling was her name.
Yeah, that's it. And so it's very much like, how an older sister or a mother would respond. These kind of ideas were in there, and I was just like, this has nothing to do with anything I've ever remembered. Anybody that's broke down, this is about behavioral patterns that happen, the way we are, how we think. This is a story about growing up, the same as Goonies and Stand By Me and the Grapes of Wrath. Even they're all stage generational developmental moments and milestones told to us in these ways, and we're missing that when we listen to them, and we've added so much fairy tale to them now that we're incapable of seeing the story for what it's telling us. And then when I go back and I look at when they came out on a historical timeline, and I see that these particular stories came out when we were this age, I find that very interesting, because the more like that with Peter Pan, and these guys that wrote these things were turning into their double digits. That's where we're at. They're not that far behind us. They're turning from the 9 to the 10 to the 11. They're exploring these parts of their mind. They're exploring it, and they're writing about it. And we're now seeing it as perverted, but only because we're older now. And we're going, well, that was weird. Now that I think about it. And so for me, I think of almost like I feel like I'm a babysitter here. I'm not a parent. I don't know what's fucking going on, but I feel like the babysitter, and I'm trying to get these kids to stop, being afraid of what's going on. We got things to do here. Stop it, Anyway. So the Magi, even the TV, yes, all there. So the mine, it says, if I like it, it's mine. This is this is the behavior of time. This is time's behavior, is what I'm saying. The concept of time. This is its core behavior. If I like it, it's mine. If it's in my hand, it's mine. If I can take it from you, it's mine. If I had it a little while ago, it's mine. If it's mine, it must never appear to be yours in any way. If I'm doing or building something, all the pieces are mine. If it looks just like mine, it's mine. If I saw it first, it's mine. If you are playing with something and you put it down, it automatically becomes mine. If it's broken, it's yours. I think that's fucking brilliant. That describes business very clear. If you can't see big business, I know William's well familiar with the toddler stage, the mine stage. They're data mining us. They're the time mining, mind your time. Biden time. That's what I always say Biden is. He's a Biden time for Camilla to harass us. Biden time. And just wasting it. He's just sitting back. It's not time. No, we got a few more announcements. We can play a little. Nobody started the countdown just yet. So you can keep playing the game. Fucking beautiful. But when it's broken, bye. We're underground. See ya. It's all yours. Good luck. We've fucked up the water. We've fucked up your air. We've fucked up your atmosphere. We've killed all your plants. Ha 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 ha. Let's see you get out of this one, Bond. You'll never get out alive, Batman. Do you see it? Oh my God, you're surrounded. Don't care. Don't give a fuck. Don't care. You know what I think of? I think of that. Oh man. I think of that scene in Resident Evil when the guy runs out of bullets and he run out of bullets. He doesn't have enough to shoot himself. He miscounted. And he climbs up higher on the little pole and he says, "You're going to have to work for your meal." I always loved that scene. I loved that about his character. That made that character so lovable. You know, he helped him escape and he miscounted and he's fucked. But he ain't gonna make it easy on them fuckers. I love it. And I used to say that because I was attacked once. And after that, I took up martial arts. And I would say to people, I said, look, I might be dead in a ditch, but that guy's not going to be walking straight. He's going to have to work for his meal. So when that film came out, I was like, yes, it's a thought. It's a thing. Okay, I'm going to go back to playing this for a minute.
About predicting the future as if the future was going to unfold itself independently of our own wishes and desires. Now, I think one can take it as one of the great lessons of modern science or modern technology that anything that is in principle possible will be done if people want to do it enough. So when one asks what is going to happen in the 21st century, what one really wants to ask is, what do we want to happen in the 21st century?
I'm myself a physical inventor, a passionate inventor, and I'm very well aware that I'm one of the probably last generation of physical inventors. Of course, we still need inventions, but we don't need very much in terms of physics. Biological inventions,
All right, I want to pause it right there just to go back over this. Did you see what he says there? Physically invented a passion. What did he say? But he's well aware that I am one of probably the last generation of physical inventors. I found this quote to be extremely interesting because what he's saying there is the Industrial Revolution that came in. That's really the last of its type. Sure, there'll be a few things here or there, changes to things and modifications, but ultimately nothing really, there's not going to be a lot of money right here after this. So in terms of this, he's the last generation, the last profit generation that's going to be making the money in this area. So this is the precursor to what we've seen with the demolishing of the shopping mall and stores and so forth and so on. So he was already saying that's well on its way out. And this is a guy that they're listening to. So big business just went on that direction. It peaked it popped it at the top, and then it's been a roller coaster ride down, but it was already predicted. So what does he go on to say? It's the mind. What? This gets really creepy real quick. This is what's up for sale now, he said.
Still need. Cancer is still something we must get rid of. But after that, what is important, the creative minority must put their mind on human happiness, on the study of psychology and of sociology. If it were up to me, I wouldn't let a single first-class talent go any more into physics or chemistry.
Where would you put them?
Into psychology.
If I can be perhaps overly...
What did he say? where would you put that? Where would you put it then? Into psychology. This is where I'm going to put my focus now. And that's where we get that idea of it's a psychological war. That's the World War III concept there. Man, it's clear as day. Business had it all along. This is a good, somebody who does better at this, William or somebody. I'm going to put the link in. I would love to see this clipped out. I would love to see some people play with this video and make some really fantastic statements, much better than me. These are, maybe it's not your thing, William. I get that, but share it with those who would be their thing. I don't know. Maybe you know somebody. I think this is just an interesting. You still there, Arkash? I think you're probably rolling. If you're rolling, don't worry. You're cool. All right, so I'm going to keep playing that. I just wanted to note right there how very good he was about saying. I'm going to play it again.
If it were up to me, I wouldn't let a single first-class talent go any more into physics or chemistry.
Where would you put them?
Into psychology.
If I can be perhaps overly large about it, I would say we're becoming an intellectual society. Not that everybody's going to be an intellectual. This is a business civilization today. Most people are not businessmen, but the basic values of the society have been in terms of business. The basic rewards go to business. And I think in the same way, the basic institutions of the new society will be intellectual institutions, in that the scientists, engineers, mathematicians, economists will be the new men of the society.
Did you hear that? And manna from heaven just appeared. Thank you, God. You know who you are. Okay. Are you hearing this? I mean, this is just the most beautiful thing. You can't get any better than what this guy is saying right here. You can't get any clearer than what this guy is saying right here. So he says, the noose ass, the noose ass ad. That's what that says. And it's an advertising for the noose around your neck, you ass. Okay. But he says that it's a society isn't. Okay, where is it at? Okay. I would say we've become an intellectual society. Not that everybody's can be. Not that everybody can be an intellectual. This is a business civilization. Today, most people, not businessmen, but the basic values of society have been in terms of business. The basic wards go to business. And I think in the same, the basic institutions of Nus Assad would be intellectual institutions, in that the scientists, engineers, mathematicians, economists will be the new men of society. Well, there you go, everybody. That's it. You don't belong there. That knocks me out. I didn't know about you. I'm not a scientist, an engineer, a mathematician, an economist. And so therefore, I'm not going to be in the club. You don't have degrees. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what keeps you from being in this club. There's your Freemasonry. You don't have the degrees to be intellectual. We won't allow you in our club. This is a he-man woman haters club, and you're not allowed in it. Doesn't that sound like a very childish behavior? Does a clubhouse, a very Peter Pan type, I don't want to grow up in my clubhouse on my pirate ship type of mentality? I would say yes. That's fucked up. Okay, I'll keep going. Just pop in, Arkash, and anyone else who wants to come up.
society. I think it's true for one very important reason. It's not that we have more knowledge, which we do. There's a change in the character of the knowledge. This, I think, is the most important thing. And it's a change in the character of the knowledge in this respect that, by and large, the most important knowledge today is theoretical knowledge. This is where it seems to me the intellectual institutions, and particularly the university, becomes important.
Mr. Bell, most of us are inclined to think pretty much the 21st century in terms of the gadgets we're going to have, the push-button life we're going to lead. Is that the way we ought to be looking?
Do you notice there that he's talking about a psychological, a theoretical, theoretics, I'm thinking, a knowledge. So that's where the intellect is coming. The intellectual institutions, particularly universities that give out what degrees, they become important. And they immediately switch sides and go into gadgets. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Nobody gives a fuck about, but this just tells you everything you need to know. Nobody's going to give a fuck about that. Let's talk about the gadgets, all of the shiny things that we're going to give to people. In terms of gadgets, are we going to have a Jetsons push button life? Or are we going to, is that the way we ought to be looking forward to the next century? So let's see what he has to say about that. So fascinating.
At the next century.
Well, it's a very entrancing way of doing it, surely. But I'm not sure it really helps very much. I think so much of the discussions I've read about the future get concentrated on the new kinds of things that men will be able to do. It sort of feeds the kind of Batman or Superman kind of instincts some of us have, you know, in terms of being omnipotent in this particular way.
That's freaking beautiful. That right there. What age is Batman? Not when are you interested in these heroes? And they were all teenagers or young adults, if you notice too. Our heroes always come in these ages, right? Standing for injustice. So in the stories like, you know, Spider-Man, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the X-Men, these kinds of things are always in milestones of transferring. So they're either, you know, teenagers or they're going to be young adults when these things happen and they get these superpowers or start fighting crime in these ways. I mean, you can see that in The Incredibles as well. Look at Buddy coming back from his adolescence, taking all of his teenage years, his last stage of that developmental cycle and putting every bit of it into being your nemesis, which he comes back as a young man while the Mr. Incredible is moving into his middle age. Do you see the beautifulness of that story? He's being replaced by something quicker and faster and self-learning and self-taught. The kid. He's being replaced by the kid. It's such a beautiful thing to see when you recognize it. So what he references that there, that means to tell me that this guy is very well aware of human behaviors and cycles of what we are interested in. And remember, this was 1974, what was the year was this? 1967. 1967, and he's not talking about, they've already started it. They already rolled the dice. Batman? Yes, Batman. Batman. We got to get him on stage. Get me a Batman. I want a Batman. And so Batman is born. And then in 1967, he's telling us, hang on, we're going to have a lot more Batmans and Supermans. And the big businesses go, Batman, Superman, start throwing them out, rolling them out. Batman 8, Batman 9. Look, we're losing daylight here. It's almost the end of the bell. Throw them out as quick as possible. Steal their money. Steal their money. That's what Beyonce's triangle is. Your money vanished, and she took a huge chunk of it. That's how much she's liked. Fucking beautiful. Here we go.
Now, 35 years ago, one of the things which entranced people completely was the idea of fractional horsepower. If you read the technological journals, the idea was everybody's lives can be transformed with fractional horsepower, small motors. Now, it's true to some extent they help, because with fractional horsepower, you begin to get electric carving knives, you begin to get electric toothbrushes, but I won't say that these have necessarily transformed our lives in a very meaningful way. So I'm not sure that gadgetry is the best way of looking at the future. I would say perhaps this reflects my own bent as a sociologist, to try to look at structural changes in society, which is why I come back to things like changes in pattern of occupation, changes in the sector distribution of an economy, changes in the character of knowledge as overall determinative of the kinds of jobs and lives people will have.
No.
Did you see that? Another, what the fuck? So he comes back. He says, don't worry about gadgets. Gadgets are so yesterday. The wave of the future reflects my own bent as a sociologist to try to look at structural changes in society, which is why I come back to things like change in patterns of occupation. So we already know that they're already telling you there. Okay. So this is a guy that's already ahead of the game. He's already chess moves ahead. He knows that industrial age is going to move us out of handmade and into this. This is already happening. So there's already going to be occupational changes. So how can I use that to my advantage? What am I going to do here? How am I going to move this way? That's what he's saying. That's what he does. He thinks about how to move society through these. And he's saying we're going to have a pattern of occupational changes as we're moving into a new developmental stage as an industrial, civilization, as the makers of things. And so now we've made things, we're going to have the ease of the push button and the gadgets already. So what's the next step here? Don't get caught up in that. If you're in business school right now, gadgets are a great way to play and gamble with money, but don't, keep the high stakes for the psychological department. That's what he's saying here. That's what I would have heard if I was in school. And he's already telling you where they're going to do the economy changes, sector distribution, overall determinations of the kind of jobs and the lives that people will have now, or what you think will be the major scientific breakthroughs of the next 34 years before the turn of the century. Well, of course, there may be some fundamental breakthroughs in knowledge. Knowledge is the nature of the universe. So now they're predicting that this is going to happen, which means that if I can predict it, I can control it. Let's see what he says.
Well, what do you think will be the major scientific breakthroughs in the next 34 years before the turn of the century?
Well, of course, there may be some fundamental breakthroughs in knowledge, knowledge of the nature of the universe, resolving these problems as to the nature of the universe, whether it's an eternal, ever-expanding universe or an oscillating, expanding and contracting kind of a universe, things of tremendous philosophical interest, but perhaps of more remote practical importance. Another one of these would relate to the nature of matter. Here we've been groping towards an understanding of the nature of matter, and it looked very simple a generation ago. Now it's gotten terribly complicated with all of the many different little bits of matter that you can produce in an atom smasher. But obviously behind all of this, there's some system, there's some pattern, and perhaps we'll get this. Again, the practical applications of this are hard to foresee. But there are also very practical things that I hope and think that we are going to do. We're going to make it practical to produce energy in a clean way and in great quantity, perhaps through harnessing the hydrogen bomb reaction, the fusion reaction. These recent developments in producing batteries and fuel cells that can be used to store and make use of energy conjures up such a wonderful world, you know, of no automobile exhaust, no stack gases. You know, this really could be a brave new world of clean cities and clean highways.
And that just steps right into the green movement. So as you can see, they were already on their way to steal your money there as well. And they were going to start rolling the dice to what was going to work. Ulick has joined us.
Well,
So, and we lost our cash at the same time. Okay. He's been quiet for quite a bit. So I think he had to leave for a minute anyway. And then he's just kind of been gone. So yeah, he's already talking about that idea. I thought that was very interesting that he says that about the clean energy. What are your thoughts so far?
I'm with it.
It's an interesting video, isn't it?
And this, it seems to me, is within reach.
By far the most important task of modern medicine is to extend throughout the whole world the kind of medical advantages and privileges which are enjoyed today in the United States and in the advanced Western countries generally. And this will have to happen. This isn't merely a medical problem. This is a tremendous problem.
He says this will have to happen. Did you notice that? This will have to happen.
What was, but your man never, what was happening that?
He's just, he's
yeah, no,
just
not
controlling
telling you
it.
what it is,
Yeah, this is what we
It's
have
magic.
planned for you. Yeah,
It's magic, yeah.
This has to happen. So it will happen because I'm the guy that says these things happen. I'm the one that creates this reality. He's a god. He just said that in the very beginning. I'm a god. I create these things. All right, let's see what he says. Let's see what he says about it.
Problem of administration, the problem of politics as well. And needless to say, it would be pointless to achieve it unless it were accompanied by a population policy. Because one of the consequences of these advances in medicine, indeed, it's not. It's already happening. Is the threat, which is now a reality, of overpopulation.
So it's so I love how he says it's pointless to achieve it unless it were accompanied by a population policy. What exactly is a population policy? Oh, well, let's go look it up. I'm very curious now. Guess?
Well, you end up in the UN, their headquarters. No.
Let's see. A population policy is a set of measures taken by a state to modify the way its population is changing, either by promoting large families or immigration to increase its size, or by encouraging limitation of births to decrease it. And that's just one of their, I want to see if they have any other examples besides that one. A population policy may also aim to modify the distribution of the population over the country by encouraging migration or by displacing population. Holy fuck. That's happening now. What that guy says.
It's happening all the time.
Interesting, right? All the measures explicitly or inexplicitly, so seen or unseen, taken by the authorities, my mom and dad, aimed at influencing the population size, the growth, the distribution, or the composition. Well, There you go. Jerry. Yes, Jerry. That's what I was thinking. What year was this? And of course, that's the year that they made it a video. I mean, it's that wasn't when he didn't have that epiphany that morning and go get the crew together. You know. Oh wow, that's scary. Okay, here we go.
I have a phrase which I use in my lectures to my students, which is freedom begins with breakfast. And you can have all the freedom in the world, but if you're not fed and you're not taken care of, if society is not taking care of your needs, then you're not free. The liberated slave dies in the ditch, you know, of hunger. And therefore we've got to come to terms with what, in fact, are the basic requirements of this vast population we're going to have. And on that world scale of population, not just pockets of hunger, but really beginning to look at this problem as a potential catastrophe of mankind. The population explosion is just, to me, as serious as the atomic explosion.
The number one human problem I would name is the problem with which 2/3 of mankind goes to bed every night, and that's the problem, when do we eat?
Okay, let's just pause here for a second. Let's just go back to what he says here, because this is the mind of a narcissist. So let's take a moment to peek inside and see the mind of a narcissist. He has a phrase that he uses to his students, which is freedom begins with breakfast. And you can have all the breakfast in the world, but if you're not fed and you're not taken care of, oh, you can have all the freedom. I see what it is. The freedom in the world, but if you're not fed and you're not taken care of as a society, and you're not taking care of your needs, then you're not free. And the liberal slave dies in the ditch. That's how they view you. And now they have so much money, and they've thought generationally ahead. In other words, they've thought it's not just me that lives on, it's my seed that lives on. It's my name that lives on. It's my face that lives on. I'm infamous. So it doesn't matter if they have kids, even if they can become a god. That's kind of rad. So in this guy's eyes, that's what he's done. Right? So kids or no kids are irrelevant, because a narcissist, the ego death, or the last fear, is the fear of just never having existed. Nobody remembers you. You existed, but you weren't remembered. And so they're desperate to be remembered in some way. And that's why they have to make statues, and they have to make stories, and they have to do things so that they're remembered at least longer than you are. You're a spit in the bucket. If I disappear, my memory is only going to last a few generations if I'm lucky. But these guys go on to live on, you know, infamously forever, as long as their name lives on, or as long as, you know, they live on. That's the reincarnation. But the idea that we don't do these things, this is what he's saying. So he's made sure that there's always breakfast for him and for anything associated with him. And so that's why they take it all from you, because we don't recognize that that's the future. The children are the future. They got their future locked in for several generations now. They're ahead of us a long way.
Yeah, they're going to feed off each other.
They won't have to. I think that's the idea. I think that's what they're going. That's why they have hundreds of years underground. They can live with themselves. I don't know. I mean, that all goes in the realm of sci-fi, but they definitely plan on going underground. There's no doubt about that. Why? I don't know. But we're just slaves in the ditch. It makes me think of that fable about the ant and the grasshopper. You know, and the ant is storing its food away where the grasshopper does not. And this, you know, you have to store your food. Same thing with the squirrel, you know, survival of the fittest kind of ideas. Hello, Nathan. Okay, I'll go back to listening to some more of this. This is so freaking interesting. Well, your population agenda is right there anyway. So it's right on point with the depopulation agenda and right on point with the green movement. So we've already seen both of those dice that have been rolled. We're on it.
Feeding of mankind, the feeding of the poor, the clothing of them, the housing of them, means the industrial revolution of the underdeveloped countries of the world. So how is that revolution going to be managed humanely? The industrial revolutions that have occurred so far in history have been pretty cruel operations. We deplore the Russian story, we look with horror on the Chinese story, but we ought to examine our own histories and our own memories of what it took to conduct the American Industrial Revolution. The 35 million human beings that arrived in Steerage Passage and percolated through the slums of our cities. The Chinese that are buried under the ties of the railroads, as Archibald MacLeish has said. The reconstruction of the human cost of our industrial revolution would appall us if we did it honestly. The answer to this problem is economic aid, and economic aid highly informed by science and technology.
In other words, we need a lot of petri dishes. That's what I'm hearing. So we're, because they've been doing this, that we're gonna go over to these third world countries and do better for them. And, Bill Gates is over there with his poop toilets and his pee water. And I see videos of Prince Harry over there detonating old mines. We haven't gotten rid of the mines yet. We've gone to space, but we haven't bothered to get rid of the mines that are blowing kids' arms off. That seems like priorities in the wrong space. Pun intended. It just makes me think that these things are all with, I don't know, intentional purposes. Here's how we can exploit these things to our benefit in the future.
The important thing here is information transfer. It's transfer of technology. Technology of the education of the cadres of engineers and scientists that are needed, and doctors and physicians and technicians of all kinds. The delivery of $1 worth of this aid stimulates the production of a total of at least $5 of local activity in economic development, potentially in Brazil or India. Because the major input at the other end is labor and mineral or agricultural resources, which they have in abundance. And this is the best bet the American people could lay on the future with the enormous resources and capacity that the scientific industrial revolution has placed at the disposal of our democracy.
We keep on saying that the great conflict which is coming, I don't necessarily mean a war conflict, but the conflict of attitude, is no longer East-West, it's North-South. It is, in fact, the colored world against what I call North Temperate Zone man. It's a rather useful description, by the way. It includes the whole of North America, includes the whole of Europe, includes the whole of Russia and Japan. It's really the clash between the highly developed countries and the underdeveloped countries. We talk about undeveloped countries and how people are going to get the most advanced technology. This is how it's going to happen. It's going to happen via the moon. For the first time in the history of man, they're sending man off into space to finally stay there on more than a sandwich and thermospatal basis, which it's been using so far. To really stay out on the moon for a year, space for a year, you're going to have to send with him everything that he's needed for his ecological regeneration. The air must be there. He has a process, and then he'll have to operate as a process. In doing so, we're going to then have to contract something like a mile diameter activity of the Earth down to a little black box weighing about 500 pounds, the most we can allow.
I just had an idea when he said that, the black box or the black cube. What is that? What do we always say? the black boxes, the recording device in an airplane, isn't it? Or the recording device in a ship. I don't. What is it called in a ship? Still black box? I don't know. I know it from an airplane though. And then we talk about the matrix cube, the black box. It's got all the recordings of the trip. That sounds like the black box is the internet. I think that's cute. Real cute. That's what we're doing, our black boxes. Hello, black box.
Which is going to take care of all his regeneration so that his liquids and everything become satisfactorily regenerative locally. You'll have to add a little to it every once in a while because entropy, as it were, and systems always really do run down. But he'll be able to operate for a long, long time. And the capsule that he's in will be the first scientific house in the history of man. So with 2 billion people looking at him all the time, the little black box operating there, everybody in the world is going to realize you can have one of those little black boxes. You don't need any sewer systems, and you don't need any water supplies. You don't need any separate generators in the city. This little black box will just keep you going.
We will continue with Buckminster Fuller on the 21st century in a moment.
Did you hear what he said?
Who?
Did you understand what this guy is saying? I mean, this sounds like he's talking in some metaphors here. He says that the little black box weighing 500 pounds, which is going to take care of all of his regeneration so that his liquids and everything's become satisfactory, regenerative. Locally, you have to add a little to it every, because they get the entropy. Always. And then he says that you'll be able to operate in space for a while, right? This is going to be the first scientific house in history where a man, with 2 billion people looking at him, and I thought of like the Truman Show, and all the time in that little black box operating there, everybody in the world is going to realize you can have all you need is one of those little black boxes, and then you don't need a sewer system. What? All you need is a 400-pound black box? Is that what is he saying there? I'm asking. I don't need a sewer system, and you don't need any water. You don't need separate generators. The city in this little black box. So it just keeps you going with the little black box. Anyway, that was weird. I don't know enough about whatever generators or something to know what he's talking about, but I found that interesting. Back to the clown show.
Are we in the future likely to have a great increase in the scientific knowledge to a magnitude we can't even dream of today, thanks to him from brawn work to do simply brain work?
I see humans around the world having one very, very important function. You cannot have mass production unless you have mass consumption. The more consumers, the bigger your undertaking. As we really come to automation, which can really do the physical work, people don't have any significance whatsoever anymore as muscle or automatons, muscle machines. They have only significance as consumers. Whoever has the most customers is going to win in the great industry.
Do you want to comment on that? He has no significance whatsoever as muscle or automatic muscle machines. He sees you as something separate than him. He doesn't see himself as a human, right? Mm-hmm. Their only significance is consumers, is as a consumer. And that's when they started changing it from the customer is always right to consumer.
There is only one show in town. There is no customer. You are all
beautiful.
The cradle to the grave, from the field to the grave.
That's nuts. I mean, he couldn't have said that more devil in your face. Forked tongue. In 1 minute, he talks about utopia, but with the same tongue, he's saying his utopia, not yours. He's creating his world, not you. You're an insect on the windshield.
Industrial battles. This is very important. China, we lost the enormous numbers of customers when we lost China's friend. Whoever's going to get India and Africa and South America to be the patrons of their industrialization needs them for as consumers, not as producers. They don't have to pay for anything. They pay by just being there as regenerative consumers. Because now I'll have to talk about something which will be one of the very big.
So what it sounds like he's talking about there is that they want more customers. So in the same way that they gave blacks and women's the right to vote because they needed their vote, they're now going to give these third world countries what we have that they're thirsty for, that we can use as a weapon as well. What we've all had, what they've been jealous of. So I'm just telling you what they try to sell me. And they're the new consumers. They're our new customer base. Remember, my candy is for 20 to 30-year-old females. This is my new customer base. That's just crazy what he's saying here. I mean, this is the plan and realization or actualization. Just fuck nuts.
New realizations by 2000 AD, which will be a realistic scientific accounting system of what is wealth. We now know that wealth isn't the goal that the old pirates used to have. Wealth is energy, and we have an Einsteinian world in which the scientists found that when energy left any local system, engine, it only did so by joining another system. It did not go out of the universe. But experiment after experiment, they found the energy never got lost. So they had to write an entirely new law of energy called the law of conservation of energy, which said energy can neither be created nor lost. So suddenly we got a new clue to wealth. Wealth is not something that's going to deteriorate and get lost, which was a great way of thinking and all the economics. Next thing I discovered that wealth consists of something more than energy. It consists. So I found that now that every time we use it, we say, I make an experiment. Now, every time you make an experiment, you always learn more. You can't learn less. You may learn that what you thought was happening isn't happening. That saves you a lot of your time, because we want to then increase the effectiveness of our time. So I then say that the intellectual factor in wealth is one which every time we use it always improves. We always learn more. I've discovered that the energy part can't run down, and the intellectual factor, every time we use it, improves. Therefore, wealth, I discovered, is something that always increases.
And gathering everybody's thoughts and the AI and all of this is what I hear him saying there. They're just data mining the mind, and they're getting all of your thoughts. You're like, got a brain slug or something on your head or whatever they've got. What film is it? I'm sure there's films where they have people and they're sucking their brains out. That concept, that's what he's talking about. We're basically being mind fucked there. Oh, anyway, well, I've been going like 3 hours. I'm going to go do some other things. It's 11:11 at 3 hours. So I'm going to end here, but I may come back and share more of this video because we're like halfway done. But what I'll do is I'll put the link in if you want to go watch it for yourself and check it out. Oh, it's a very interesting stuff right there. Anyway, so we'll say goodbye to everyone. Thank you for coming and hanging out. And I'll say goodbyes for the bounce out is what we'll do. I have to find it. There it is. This public service announcement.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Rotten Studios. Remember, no contact is the road to freedom.